So the question comes to us, what is the difference between one person and another person? And how do these differences, if they exist at all, affect the laws that we make or affect the way that we see ourselves and we see each other? Um, I'm of the position, okay, and I'm going to try and explain my own sort of philosophy on this in the series of videos that I'm going to make. Sort of based on the book that I've written. I'm in the position that I'm of the position that fundamentally everyone is equal, and that sounds like something kind of simple to say. Everyone kind of believes that anyway. But I mean fundamentally equal in terms of that there is no fundamental actual difference in terms of what makes us who we are, in terms of the fundamental core of who we are. Again, it sounds kind of simple to say, but the reality is that many people do actually believe that there are differences between us in a real fundamental value-based way, which is why you have sort of differences in laws, why you have differences in terms of politics, why you have differences in terms of uh, the way that, say, religious people might see non-religious people, or vice versa. And um, and also uh, the things which are simple and which are accepted, oftentimes if we don't reinforce them, then they can sort of get attacked. Okay, which is kind of happening now in kind of many ways. And it's not as if tyranny doesn't exist. It does exist. Just look at different places in the world where people aren't exactly free. People aren't free. Um, Certain governments have control over their people as if the people belong to them. Um, So it's not a given, okay, that we assume that every human being is equal to every other human being. It's not a given. It's just, even though most people would say that they agree with the idea, it's not a given as to why that's true. If I ask you, why is that true? I'd say many people might struggle with the answer of why that's true. And also therefore, uh, the conclusions that come from that idea, many people might struggle with the, uh, what do you call it? The conclusions themselves in terms of, like what laws should we make and so on. Okay, so fundamentally, the first principle, the first principle is that every human being is equivalent in value to every other human being. And the basis of this pretty much is that we all share the same origin. Okay, we all share the same origin, and I mean ultimate origin. So obviously we're all born from a mother, but before this, we all have the same ultimate origin, which is our universal origin. This is true whether if you take the scientific rational approach or if you take the more spiritual approach. Ultimately, we are all in some way products of the universe. And then beyond that, we are also products of infinity. Again, it doesn't matter if you take the, what do you call it, non-religious approach or or atheistic approach or the theistic or deistic approach, it doesn't really matter. The point is, either you think the universe is infinite itself, okay, it means we're all infinite, or you think that infinity outside the universe made the universe, aka God, or whatever you'd call that source of infinity at the beginning. In which case, again, we're all infinite again, yeah, in terms of our originating point. So there's no getting away from the fact that we all have the same origin. Okay, there's no escaping the fact that we all have the same origin point, we all have the same source point. There's no escaping that. So fundamentally, before we are given any differences, okay, in terms of history, surname, family, race, wealth, even like religion, um, everything. So before we're given any of these differentiating qualities, we all come from the same origin, okay? And that origin, like I said, ultimately is infinite, which means we start from the point, okay, that each of us has, fundamentally, we each have value, infinite value. This doesn't mean that we ourselves are like, immortal or something. I don't mean that. Although you could say maybe in terms of, what we are truly in terms of beyond our physical body. But anyway, that's for another discussion. What I'm saying is, in terms of our value, our actual fundamental core value. Each of us is infinite in value. Okay, now what does this mean? It means that it, there is no superior human, there is no inferior human, there is no high class person, low class person. Again, these things seem to be, on the face of it obvious, but what it means is that there are no chosen people, there are no non-chosen people. It means that uh, having money or having any material possessions doesn't make you better. Having less doesn't make you worse. Being very well educated doesn't make you better. Being uneducated doesn't make you less. Essentially, there's no distinction that you can make related to value, which increases or decreases your fundamental value because you have it all already. So, um, there's no escaping this. Okay, there's no escape for this. Even again, if you take the evolutionary view or if you take the religious view, there's no escape from this. Because if you trace back our origin, uh, either if you take this sort of evolutionary view or something, at the beginning we were nothing together. Okay, all of us were nothing, and then the universe had its processes, whatever, and then we came from the stardust, collected and everything else, evolutionary processes, or and so we're all the same again. We all have the same origin point. Um, or if you take the obviously spiritual religious view, again we all come from uh the same origin, from the same sort of originating creative force. So there's no getting away from it. Okay, there's no getting away from it. Um, Ultimately, we are equal in value. Okay, and uh, this is true, no matter what any philosopher, religious person, politician, military general, leader, it doesn't really matter what anyone says. This is fundamentally true. There's no arguing around this, pretty much. The only thing that you could say, okay, if you're going to argue around this, would be that some people come from a different universe or something. I don't know what you'd say. Okay, but there's no arguing around this pretty much. There is no arguing around this, and um, therefore it's fundamentally true. Okay, so it means that what it means essentially, okay, is that all these distinctions that we make with each other, okay, in terms of culture, class, tribe, um, race, languages we speak, material wealth, all these distinctions essentially are just like secondary. Okay, they're not primary, and they themselves don't give a person more value. They don't give a person, without them less value. Essentially, they're just like things we do ourselves and things we measure ourselves that we've added onto the fundamental value which each of us possesses. Now, what this follows on from is that since no person is since we all have the same originating point, we all have the same origin, and therefore we all have the same value. Okay, then it means that, excuse me, what it means then is that no person is more valuable than any other person. Okay, fundamentally. And moreover, it means that since we have the value, okay, from our origin, which is infinity itself, since we have that, it means that no one else can give you more value, nor can they take the value away from you. It's not in the hands of any other person. It's not even in your own hands, which means that you yourself cannot decrease your own value, nor can you increase it. You already have all of it. So what this means is that no last name, no title that you earn, no large amount of money, no material possession, no reputation, no power you gain, and none of that will affect your actual fundamental value because you have it all already. So it means the person who's homeless without a penny in his pocket has the same value as the billionaire whose building he's sitting in front of. There's no difference between them fundamentally. Um, Now we know this to be true, okay, because um, you take two newly born children, newborn babies. Um, One infant has a large inheritance, the other one has nothing. Uh, no one would say this one's more valuable than the other one. Yeah, this one deserves better treatment than the other one. No one would say that, right? And Also, the first thing you would say when you see the infant, you wouldn't say something like, I don't know, this baby's rich or this one's not. You would say that's a child, right? That's what you'd say. If you found an infant, okay, in the desert, uh, before you said anything else, you would say there is a child, yeah. You would say that's a child, a human child. So the point is that the money and everything else, okay, money, family, title, history, lineage, none of that really means anything in terms of fundamental human value. Okay, it might mean things, that maybe things that should be respected due to the achievements and things which have been attached, but again, they're not primary, they're not fundamental, and it's only ourselves that give these things power, basically. Um, Now beyond this, and you might be wondering why am I making this video? I'm just making this, I guess, to express this philosophy. I don't know, maybe it'll be, I don't want to be arrogant enough to say that maybe this will be important. I don't know about that, but I don't know. I guess it's better to express it. Maybe it'll be useful for someone in the future. I don't know, maybe no one will watch it right now, but maybe in the future it'll be useful to somebody. Um, who knows? I've read books from people that lived 200 years ago, and maybe at the time no one read their book, but I found some lessons in those books and I found them quite useful. So maybe this will do the same thing for people in the future. I don't know. At the very least, it's something to think about, and I think the ideas have been well thought out, and I think they're true, in my opinion. So yeah, okay, all right. The next thing is following from this, every human being, okay, is incomplete in terms of knowledge. So everyone has infinite value, okay, which can't be changed. Now we know this to be true as well in terms of the value, in that the law applies equally to everyone. And everyone, we think of this idea of everyone having rights, okay, and you have rights which are universal, which people can't take from you. The reason they can't take them from you is because you're born with them. Okay, and you're born with them. Why? Why do you have rights? Why do you have rights? You have rights due to your value, which we all share. If I deny your rights, then I deny my own, essentially. If I deny your value and I say that I can treat you in any way and that I can harm you in any way, then I give permission for other people to do the same to me, basically. So I can't hurt you without hurting myself, essentially. That's the idea. Um, okay, but beyond this great value that we all have, there is also the other side, which is like our human reality. Okay, which is limited and which is based on limitation, essentially, which is that we are always in a state of incompleteness, imperfection. And one of the first ways that this manifests itself is in terms of knowledge, which is that we can only see so much, we can only see so far, we can only think about so much, we can only hear so much, we can only learn so much at one time. So at all times, we are always incomplete. We are always limited in terms of what we know and in terms of what we can know. Okay. Even when you think about the big picture, okay, when you think about us on the planet Earth, and you think about the planet Earth in comparison to the galaxy, already the comparison, the size is mind-blowing. It's the size of what there is to know versus what we do know. It's it's like uh, massive. Okay, infinite almost for us at least, practically infinite for us, which means that we can never know everything that's out there, nor can we, more than that, we can't even fully identify what it is that we don't yet even know. So, in terms of what we are aiming to learn, we can't master it, we can't perfect it, there's too much. And then also beyond that, we don't even know the things that we don't even know. Yeah, because the universe is too big. I just made from Earth to galaxy already. The Earth disappears, okay, in terms of the size of the galaxy. Then you go galaxy to universe, and It's yeah, it's like a speck of dust and a speck in a field, which is itself is a speck of dust on a planet and so on. So we are always in a state of learning, and no person knows everything about something, let alone everything about everything. Okay, which means that we're always okay in need of learning, adapting, and changing what it is that we actually, currently believe, currently know. And what this means fundamentally is that no matter how great someone becomes, okay, in terms of their status amongst ourselves, how much of an expert someone becomes, how much power someone gains, how much prestige someone gains, money someone gains, they themselves are also just like us, hyper incomplete, hyper imperfect, in need of knowledge, in need of learning, ignorant in terms of most things, just like us, like the rest of us. So what that means, okay, is that we should respect people. We should respect people who have done, spent their lives learning and so on. We should respect them. We should listen to them, if they have spent a lot of time learning. But we should never take what anyone says as 100% perfect truth or perfect knowledge, because it's not possible for a human being to have that kind of knowledge, to have that kind of completeness. It's not possible for the reasons I just laid out. And what that means is that we shouldn't just blindly follow other people. Now, why is this relevant? Okay, beyond just say like religiously or something. It's relevant because it means that politicians, the people we put in charge of us democratically, to make laws, it means that they themselves, just like us, are ignorant in most ways and in need of advice and in need of being checked and in need of being corrected um, peacefully, obviously, in need of being corrected, and that we should expect them to make mistakes, basically, and get things wrong because they're human, yeah. They don't have access to like special knowledge or something. Um, and it means we shouldn't pedestalize them. Okay, it means we shouldn't put them above us and consider them as something else. We should consider them as ourselves, yeah. So we shouldn't make ourselves inferior, see ourselves as inferior to others just because they're highly educated or something. Yeah, because even the most educated person uh, is still ignorant in terms of most things, in terms of what there is to know. Um, and I'd say um, maybe I'd say the worst way this manifests itself is in two ways. One politically, one religiously, and the worst is when they're combined together. It's those individuals who, uh, a lot of the time, they're not even educated yet. They're in terms of studying, they haven't studied whatever they're talking about, but they've gained a certain title, they've gained a certain level of status in which they can make rulings, which they can give the signature of God. Yeah, as their old quote mentions, they can give the signature of God. Say God said this, and then they can have the power of the government behind them to enforce whatever it is that they've said. That is what leads to massive tyranny, death, uh, torture, pain for many people. So this is like unacceptable. Yeah, and again, if you think about it logically, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, if you can learn something, there's someone else also who can learn it, and the fact that we know for sure that there is no human being with perfect knowledge, okay, because it's not possible, um, means that no one has the right to dictate what is the perfect final complete answer to anything, pretty much, because it doesn't make any sense. Um, there's a couple other principles, things which sort of flow from this. Um, but I think that's enough maybe for one video. Um, yes, I'll put a link to the book in the description. But fundamentally, I think the point of this book fundamentally is that to remind people of their sort of great value, regardless of where they are in life, what they're doing, it doesn't really matter. And then number two, to remind people of their limitation in terms of maybe those people who uh, might be blinded by their power or money or anything else. And um yes. Okay. Anyway, hope it was useful.